The story starts with our main lead behind the bars. A masked man shouts at her, "Giselle Rozevin, you evil witch! I'm here to kill you!" But our main lead, Giselle, replied while brushing her hairs, Sure. You brought poison, right?" She asked him, "You plan on assassinating me, don't you?" Moving her hand forward, she said, "Well then, hand it over." She snatched the poison from his hand, saying, "Don't just stand there." The man gets shocked seeing her drinking the poison effortlessly. He said, she's just as crazy as they say." After drinking it, she said, "It tastes like strawberry milk." The man snatched bottle from her hand, saying, she's fine? But I was told just a drop of this poison is enough to send anyone to the afterlife." He thinks he got the wrong bottle, so he tried to test it by drinking it himself, saying, "Did I take the wrong bottle?" After taking just one drop of it, blood shatters from her mouth. While trembling, he said, "Why, you tricked me." He shouted his last words as, "Giselle Rozevin." But she sits there and just sighed. Giselle Rozevin. That's the name of a villainess in the novel called The Poison Apple. It was a novel she read to let off steam at work. The Poison Apple is an angsty romance novel where both the heroes and the villains die. Giselle is a side character who is the first to die among the villains. She loses to the hero early on, and her family is eradicated. Her fate is to be poisoned by an assassin in a cell while waiting to be hanged. One day, our main lead got hit by a car on my way home from work. And when she woke up, she was Giselle Rozevin, the villainess. She shouts behind the bars, "Damn it!" She was already imprisoned when she woke up in this world, and assassins really did come to poison Giselle. Another assassins come and tries to give poison to her, saying, "Open up. Here comes the poison." After drinking it, she said, "That tastes like strawberry-flavored cough syrup." The man also tried to test whether it's right one or not. What? I was told this poison can kill anyone. Did I bring the wrong one? He drinks it, saying, "Let's see," and goes where his fellow went. Several more assassins came to try and kill her, but for some reason, not a single poison worked on her. She thinks while seeing Assassin's body, why do they all check the poison by tasting it? The assassins of this world are idiots. She tells, in the beginning, I was too scared to drink the poisons, so I struggled. But once I got used to them, it was better to just get it over with, since they didn't shut up until I drank the poison. And after trying so many kinds of poison, I discovered that they all tasted different. After drinking one more, she thinks, "Ooh, yummy! Apple yogurt." The flavor is more artificial than natural, though. Maybe because it's a poison. At first, the guards got worked up because they thought I had killed those assassins. The knights shouted, "You evil witch!" She tells. But once they found out that the assassins poisoned themselves, they stopped paying attention at all. She shouted, "I'm innocent." The knights, seeing the poison bottles beside the assassins, said, "They're all insane." She tells, "I thought that so many assassins were getting in because the security here was terrible. But I'm sure now that the guards were being bribed to turn a blind eye." She thinks, "What a corrupt world. I guess I'm also a villain, though." She sighed while thinking, "I can't believe I have to survive on poisons while waiting to be hanged in this terrible cell. I hope the next poison I have to drink tastes good. That'd at least put me in a good mood." Suddenly she heard someone laughing. She turns to see if someone's there while thinking, did someone just laugh? But there's no one here. She gets nervous and said, "Is this a side effect from drinking so much poison? Drug abuse really is bad for you." She gets shocked and glanced everywhere when she again heard the laughing sound. Where's that coming from? Is it a ghost? Someone chuckled while saying, "Well, I ain't a ghost." She thinks, hearing his reply, "So it is a person. But what's with that attitude?" She said, "Excuse me. I can't see you, but I assume you're an assassin. I just had some poison, so I need time to let it digest. Could you wait?" Suddenly a bottle of poison appears and man said, "This one's small, so it'll be fine. Try it." Seeing it, she thinks it appeared out of thin air. She shouted in anger, "Hold on. I asked you to wait a bit. Try it? What does he think I am, some sort of lab rat?" What kind of assassin acts like this? She smells it and thinks, there's a strong, sour smell coming from it. Did it go bad or something? Will spoiled poison kill me? But really, just because I haven't died so far from drinking poison, doesn't mean that I won't die from this one, right? Then again, I might get stabbed instead, if the poison doesn't kill me. And I was sentenced to be hanged, so I'm going to die either way. I can't just die like this. Besides, this assassin seems to have some sort of special power. She asked him, "Excuse me, Mr. Assassin? In exchange for drinking this, can I ask you for a favor?" The man asked, "A favor?" She said, "Yes. If I drink this and survive, you won't be able to poison me anyway, so please just let me live." He asked, "You want me to let you live if you don't die?" She replied, "I'm asking you to get me out of here." She thinks, I can't just sit around and drink poison, waiting to be hanged. I'll think about how I ended up here later. First, I need to get out of here no matter what. He asked, "Can you even survive once you escape though?" Hearing this, she gets shocked. He said, "You're known as an evil witch throughout the empire. You can run all you want, but there'll be wanted posters everywhere. Your family is gone, and you don't have anyone to help you." He asked, "Isn't it all the same, whether you die out there or in here?" Hearing this, she clenched her fist. She said, "You're such a pessimist. Try being more optimistic." He asked, "What?" She said, "I may have made a lot of enemies, but there must be a place for me somewhere in this world." She said with a little smile on her face, "If good people turn their backs on me for being an evil witch, I can just find employment with an evil villain." He chuckled hearing this and thinks, "Employment?" He said, "You seem to have someone in mind." She replied, "I do. The most evil villain of them all." He said, "Tell me more. If it sounds fun, I will consider helping you." She thinks, what was the name of the main villain in this novel? She said, "Well, Wayne Ayore?" The man corrects her saying, "Wayne Ayore?" Hearing this, she said, "Oh yes. That sounds right." She asked him, "Wait, do you know him?" He replied, "As it happens, I do." Suddenly an assassin come and said, "Giselle Rozevin." Seeing him, she thinks, "Huh?" The assassin said, "I can't let a witch like you go easily." She thinks, that's a different voice. The man opens the lock and seeing this, she thinks he has the key? How? He enters in and she staggers thinking, did the guards give him the key to my cell? Those corrupt monsters. The assassin takes a sword out and shouts while it king her, "This is for my fiancé. Die a painful death." She managed to dodge his attack thinking, wah. Don't cry and attack at the same time. She drinks the poison thinking, I don't want to get stabbed. She shouts, "Mr. Unknown Assassin. Are you listening? I drank your poison, so help me out." She starts crying while shouting, "You said you'd help me if I don't die, you bastard." The man snaps his fingers saying, "I said I'd consider it. I never promised to help you." A magical aura fills the room and the assassin gets shocked, "Huh?" The aura covered the assassin and the man said, "But I do admit that you're interesting." The assassin disappears and seeing it she thinks, is this magic? He got sucked into the shadows. The unknown man appears in front of her, and she said, "Mr. Assassin." He replied with a smile, "Yup, that's me." She gets shocked and thinks, wait, what kind of assassin just goes around showing his face? More importantly, after seeing him she thinks, why is he so hot? After seeing the bottle, the man said, "There it is." When he took the bottle she thinks, "Ah man, he's going to try the poison and get himself killed, too." When the man seeing the bottle, she thinks what use are his good looks if he acts just like all those other idiots. She said, "Are you going to check whether it was really poison?" The man replied with little smile, "No, because I'm sure I brought the right one." After that he took the bottle into its jacket. She thinks, oh my gosh. Finally, an assassin who has more than half a brain. After that the man said, "Well, the poison isn't what's important right now. Shall we make our escape?" After asking that he snapped his finger and a purple light appears. Suddenly a magic circle appears. She thinks, he really is a mage. and purple light surrounds them. Now that she think about it, didn't he say, "As it happens, I do"? She thinks that he knows the leader of the dark mages, Wayne Ayore? Does that mean he's also a dark mage? After that, a light purple light flickers through the air. And they both teleport to somewhere, and then she asked, "Where are we?" The man replied, "In a back alley." "Is it too shabby for a noble lady like yourself, perhaps?" After that she said that, "Well, I didn't think we'd be able to escape so easily. I knew the security was terrible, but I must say, I'm a little disappointed." He replied with a charming smile, "Would you like me to put you back in jail?" After hearing that she said, "Nope." He said, "Don't be disappointed, you'll be reported to have escaped with the aid of dark magic. There will be a big bounty on you, and you'll be executed on sight." She thinks you don't have to look so amused. So that was dark magic. That's the kind of magic only the bad guys used in the poison apple. Giselle Rozevin, the character I'm possessing, was aided by a dark mage, too. Wayne Ayore, the final boss of the story, wanted the dark mages to gain more power, so he gathered them together and fought the male lead. She asked him nervously, "Are you actually a dark mage? Are you a member of the Black Clouds?" The Black Clouds is the organization of dark mages led by Wayne Ayore. Before its true nature was revealed, it was foreshadowed by the words, "The Black Clouds are rolling in." She asked him, "So you're one of Wayne's underlings?" He simply smiled and don't respond. She's surprised and thinks, "Wait, so was I being all cocky about getting Wayne Ayore to hire me, in front of someone who actually works for him? Gah! What do I do?" She said in fleshy way, "So, what's your name?" He replied with smile, "Renil." "Renil? I don't think that name ever came up in the poison apple." She thinks deeply, was there anyone with red eyes and black hair? She don't think so. The final boss had silver hair, so she don't remember this guy. But seriously, the more I look at him, the hotter I think he is. Isn't he a little too handsome for some side character? Ahem, I really don't remember anyone by the name Renil, so he must not be important to the story. Besides, all the members of the Black Clouds have the tendency to act on their own, anyway. Giselle joined forces with a dark mage who worked independently, so I'm sure Renil was also recruited just like her as well. I guess I'm lucky that it wasn't Wayne Ayore himself, but Renil might report what I said, so I need to keep him quiet. She said while blushing, Renil? That thing I told you about getting hired by your boss. I haven't actually talked to him yet. He said that he get it. He won't say anything bad about you two. The boss. He said, "By the way, shouldn't you get moving?" She replied, "Huh?" He said that, "We're not very far from your jail cell, you know. They should be sending out a search party for you any moment now." She shocked, "We're so close to the tower. Why didn't he just teleport us farther away?" She requested him, "Could you accompany me just a bit longer? Fate brought us together, after all. If I'm on my own, I'll get caught in no time. I still need the help of this man who got me out." He said, "Why should I?" She replied, "Haha. As you know, I'm broke, since you already helped me out." "Perhaps," he said, "I don't work for free." He said, "What can you do for me if I help you?" She said after hearing this. They heard the sound, "Find the fugitive." He said, "Oh, there's the search party." She flinched. He said, "Now that I think about it, I guess I could wait until they put a bounty on you so I can collect it." She said, "I can give you information. It's the kind of information that'll help you get a quick promotion." He said, "Promotion? What kind of information?" She said, "You're affiliated to the Black Clouds, right? I know the fate of some important individuals, you see." She thinks, "That's right. I know what happens in the book. That means I know what the future holds for this world." She said, "For example, I know what will happen to your boss." After hearing that, he gets shocked. HW said, "That's a bit hard to believe." She replied, "Well. You see, I drank so much poison that I now have mysterious powers." He said, "I've never heard of anyone gaining magic abilities from drinking poison." She said in anger that it's not magic. It's more like Possession. He said, possession? What's that? She said furiously, it's like a mysterious entity came into my body because of the poison, and I was able to learn a lot of information that no one else knows. After hearing that, he paused. The knights ran and said, search over there. She feared from them. She said squeezily, you're not just going to leave me here, are you? He said, Giselle Rozevin attempted a forbidden ritual right before she was arrested. She shocked and said, what? She was trying to gain power by sacrificing the dark mage she had joined forces with. She gasped and said, wait, wasn't that dark mage the only ally Giselle had left? And she sacrificed him? That crazy woman. There are rules to dark magic too, and there are certain lines that must not be crossed. He swished hairs with finger and said, I came here to clean up the mess of the idiot who died, because they were tricked by Giselle Rozevin. I needed to check whether the forbidden ritual worked, and if it did, I was going to take it with me to study it. He said, don't you want to know what the ritual was about? She gulped and thinks, I have a bad feeling about this. She reached their hand towards him. He squeezed her hand and said, the fall of a star. She also repeated, the fall of a star? He said, Rozevin was trying to summon something from outside of this world and use its powers. She gets shocked and thinks, what? He said, the ritual was forbidden because it has yet to be perfected, and the likelihood of getting consumed by the summoned being was too great. He stepped close and asked, you? Her legs staggered. He said, who are you? She thinks, so, to summarize what Reincarnation just told me. I've been summoned to this world by a forbidden ritual performed by Giselle Rozevin? She should have picked someone else. Why did she have to summon me, an overworked, ordinary, and innocent office worker of all people? I just want to go home. So? He squeezed her hand and said, who are you? And how do you have such valuable information? You mentioned the fate of some important people, didn't you? She grabbed her hand and shouted, who else could I be? I'm Giselle Rozevin. She thinks in her mind, I can't have him find out. He said, oh, I see. You want something in return for that information. But you know, even if you don't tell me, don't you think I've other ways of extracting that information from you? She replied, yes, sir. Of course you do, sir. She said with a little smile, don't you want to know what a jail cell made by dark mages looks like? She asked, and then not at all. She thinks, wait, didn't he say he was going to study the result of the ritual? She was trembled and thinks, he might dissect me alive, he never said he would. I can't deal with pain. She said with a little smile, you see, I really value my own safety. You don't need to threaten me to get me to cooperate. Let's keep things nice and civil? He thinks, what an interesting reaction. He said, you definitely aren't Giselle Rozevin. She would never act so pathetic. She thinks in mind, ouch geez, he doesn't have to be so mean about it. So what if I'm being pathetic? It'd be better than getting turned into a lab rat at any moment. He said with a little smile, tell me how else you can be of use to me, something other than what's inside that head of yours, or how much your bounty will be worth. I want something more significant. She thinks deeply, be of use? I can tell poisons apart by taste. He said, what poisons? By taste? He said, how is that useful? How disappointing. She raised her head and said, your boss is going to die from poison. He thinks deeply in mind. She said, I can be your boss's poison taster. So, in the end, Reincarnation didn't put me back in jail, dissect me, or hand me over to the guards. Amazing! Instead, he hired me as a shopkeeper of this really fishy store. She gets shuddered to see doll and thinks in mind, what's with that creepy doll? Is it cursed? It probably is cursed. Because this is a store that sells cursed items and related goods. She said to him, cursed items? Why would you hire me to work here? She said furiously, don't tell me, are you planning to kill me with a curse because poisons don't affect me? He replied, I said this is a store that sells cursed items, not that you'll get cursed here. I don't trust you yet. So, work at this store and prove to me that you're useful. Your job will be to sort through the poisons sold here. While you're at it, deal with customers too. She said, sort through the poisons? Do you want me to label them? He replied, you said you'd be a poison taster, didn't you? He smirked and said, try all of them, and find out what they taste like. She gets trembled and thinks, he's so evil. Is he saying that he can't make me his boss's secretary right away, and that I should work my way up? She thinks deeply in mind, it's already been 10 days since I became a temp here. Renil supervised me at first, but I haven't seen him at all these past 3 days. She gets sigh and see doll, I'm bored, all I have is you, Isabel. She speaks, don't tell me you gave the cursed doll a name. An unknown man came with lifting a box and said, there really is something wrong with your head, crazy Miss Giselle. She said, 10. 10 helps out with the heavy lifting. He said he was doing odd jobs like this in order to officially become a dark mage. She think in mind, but what does moving boxes have to do with becoming a dark mage? Then she replied to him, wait, I'm not crazy. 10 said with a smile, crazy people usually don't realize they are. She said furiously, I said I'm not. He replied, don't worry. You're crazy, but in a good way. He come close to doll and said, besides, you were hired to work at this store. You must be profoundly evil, Miss Giselle. She thinks in mind, is working here as a temp that impressive? Renil must be pretty notorious, then, since he's the owner. She also thinks in mind, but I'm not crazy. He come near the table where she sit and said, I'll leave this here. She replied him, by the way, why does this store keep getting more boxes when there aren't any customers? She said, quite a few shady people came by, but no one's ever bought anything. So stop bringing more things. He took his hand in the bag and said, people do come by to buy things sometimes. Also here. He took a bottle from bag, this is today's poison. After seeing that she gets shudder and thinks, gah. It stinks. She said, do you know what a durian is? He give this bottle to her and said, a durian? No. After seeing that she said, it's a fruit that smells just like this poison. He surprised and said, what do you mean? This poison is odorless. She grabbed the bottle in hand and thinks, I guess I really am the only one who can smell and taste undetectable poisons. She thinks in mind, Renil said so too. All of the poisons I've taken so far were supposed to be tasteless and odorless. 10 said while going back, you sure are crazy, crazy Miss Giselle. She thinks in mind, I don't have any energy left to correct him. She sit alone this shop and thinks, she alone sit and thinks in mind, I was going to stay in the store so as not to risk aggravating Renil, but it's been 3 days since I've heard from him. She thinks deeply in mind, wait. This must be my chance to escape. She secretly took his jacket. Renil might still be planning to dissect me someday. And unlike the story, I'm still alive, so if I don't get away from here, I might run into the main characters. She lifted a bottle of poison from there. I'm taking these as compensation for 10 days of work. She also lifted the bag of money into its jacket. She took a cold breath, okay then. She carefully opened the door. Here I go. She sneaked from the shop slightly. She deeply thinks in mind, it seems there aren't any magic spells to keep me inside. Maybe he didn't use any dark magic here because its traces might get noticed. She ran from the shop fast. Anyway, I've managed to escape. While running, she thinks in mind, by the shop, I can hitch a ride in the back of a carriage as long as I tip the driver. I need to find where the carriages are. Suddenly she stopped, She simply walk, wait, what the? She heard the sound. After that she saw the guard walking there. She stops and thinks in mind, why is the shop for villains right by a guard post? The guard's taking the poster of her, and her poster is on every wall. The guards say, this is insane. After seeing the guard she said, why is a shop for villains so close to a guard post? After that the Renil is behind her. He said, go on. Why not keep walking? She turned back. She shocked to seeing the Renil behind her. He said, if you take a few more steps they'll notice you. She said with a smiling face, ha ha ha, long time no see, boss. She thinks in mind, damn it, he caught me. Ha! I knew things were going too well. He said in a crazy way, how long has it been? 2, maybe 3 days? She gets sweat and said, oh, he's got the crazy eyes. Please put them away, sir. She waved their both hands and said, please don't misunderstand. I wasn't trying to run away or anything. He replied in a strange way, oh, so if you weren't running, were you trying to turn yourself in? Have you decided to face the death penalty head on? She said calmly, as if I was just going on a walk. That's all. I always try to take 10,000 steps a day, you know. She performed walk in front of him and said, yup. I recommend going on daily walks. It's great for your health. Wow. So healthy. He said with closed eyes, oh, I see. He said with a strange smile, then, is the poison you took for when you get thirsty? After hearing that, she gets shocked and thinks in mind, how did he know? Was he spying on me with magic? Did he see everything? She said with smiling face, well, I just thought I'd take the poison with me, so I don't lose my touch or something like that. He said, and what about the money? Do you usually need cash to go on a walk? She gets sparkle and raised its finger and said, I was just thinking that I never actually thanked you, Master Renil, for saving me. So, I thought I'd get you a gift on my way back. Ah, Master Renil, is it? He said, you really do resort to groveling when you're in a bind? She closed hands and said, whatever do you mean? I've always referred to you as Master Renil, in my head with great respect. She thinks in mind, damn it. He took his hand on FAC and said, didn't you call me a bastard back in your jail cell? She replied, oh, let's put aside the past and look toward the future, shall we? He said, the past? This was just 10 days ago. She replied, that's still in the past, sir. Suddenly the noise coming. The guards walks coming there. She saw the guards, said in fear, huh? They're coming this way. She was afraid, What do I do? She gasped his clothes and tugged into its on face to cover it. He said, what are you doing? She replied, the guards are coming this way. I have to hide. Wait, I know. She pulled him towards her. She said, boss. Act like you're kissing me, please. He seeing her face closely and stop. She said, running away from them will look more suspicious. We'll have to act like a couple making out so that they'll ignore us. He said with little smile on its face, I see, so in situations like these, you're saying that we have to act like a couple making out, in order to avoid danger, right? She replied, exactly. So please just cooperate, and he pushed her toward the wall. She said, huh? She said doubtfully, you can't just push me against the wall all of a sudden. He is lean on her, and push her towards the wall, they both seeing one another eyes deeply. She said, is he trying to charm me? He replied with a smile, why not? You said we have to look like a couple. She said, well, that's not the point. It's more about avoiding suspicion, and she seeing the guards coming there and said, huh? Wait, he's looking right at me. She get afraid and whisper, he saw me. He definitely saw me. I'll look over there. She started crying and punched him with both hands, ouch. Why didn't he just hug me so I'd be out of sight? Or lean in more and act like we're kissing? He replied with smile, what's over there? She said, over there, the guards. She was surprised to see that and said, huh? They're walking away. I swear I locked eyes with that soldier. He didn't recognize me? Did he not see my poster? She gets shocked and said, why did they just leave? He turned their face from her and said with little smile, because they didn't see us. He stepped away. Then she said, where are you going? If you keep walking in that direction, we'll get caught. He tapped his feet on floor and said, up to here, all they see here is a wall. It's illusion magic. She gets surprised and said, illusion magic? She thinks deeply in minds. In the novel, it talked about how magic always leaves behind a magic circle. In addition, dark magic leaves behind a spooky aura. It was what helped the two main characters track down Wang and nearly defeat him. That's how the story played out. She thinks, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. No, there's no way. I'm sure that's what it said. She doubtfully said that if this is magic, why can't the soldiers sense it? He simply smiled and said that's obvious. Because I'm more powerful. She comes on her nest and crying said, why didn't you tell me sooner? He replied, well, you looked really dumb, but I'll put it nicely and say it was cute. She said, that's not nice at all. He said, now then, let's continue this inside the shop. She thinks in mind, oh right, I totally forgot. My escape attempt just got busted. He said, he wants to continue. She shuddered and said, continue with what, sir? She said in pleased way, you don't mean you're going to torture me, do you? He replied with little smile, I can, if you'd like to try it. We don't even have to go very far. We can just do it here. She stand up and said, boss. A new poison just arrived today. She saluted him and said, your hardworking temp will return to the shop post-haste to check on the new merchandise. After that she gone. He was laughing and thinks in mind, I must say, she's amusing. The night came. He sit in front of her on a chair, she show a chat and said H here. She said, I made this chart to record the different flavors of poison I tasted over the past 10 days. She showed the chart to him and said, it's easy to read, and she did a good job sorting through all of those poisons. Pedro would love to have her work in the office for him. She said, it might seem a little unrealistic that they all taste like fruit, but I swear they do. He thinks in his mind, but I can't imagine Giselle Rozevin attempting a forbidden ritual just to become better at office work. She said, every poison tastes different depending on its effect, just like how apples can all taste different. She was happy and thinks in mind, come on, give me some feedback. He thinks, and she wouldn't have wanted all this groveling and odd behavior either. He was smiling. And thinks, what on earth did Giselle Rozevin end up summoning? She starts cowering at the first sign of pain, but she's not at all afraid to drink poison. She doesn't want to be in danger, but says she'll work under a villain. She's full of contradictions, and that makes her interesting. I really want to know what's under that skin. After all of thinking he said, so, what's your name? She was confused and said, pardon? He said, your real name? I told you mine, but you still haven't told me yours. She replied in strange way, my name is Giselle Rozevin. He thinks deeply in mind, she usually acts like such a scaredy cat. But whenever I ask who she really is, she refuses to budge. How strange. She's got blonde hair and eyes, just like Giselle Rozevin, but she seems like a totally different person now that something else is in there. The biggest paradox is that she doesn't even try to act like Giselle Rozevin, but insists that she still is Giselle Rozevin. He simply said with smile, sure, Giselle? She was confused to hear that. She said, anyway, have I proven my usefulness now? This chart is something only I could have put together with my ability to tell apart different poisons. He said, I admit your skills, but you're still too suspicious. She said in anger and furiously, you do why? I'm the most harmless person you'll ever meet. He replied with smile, I have trust issues, you see. Besides, I just caught you trying to run away. After hearing that, she turned her face and smiled. He said, also, you stole my money too? She shrank and replied, wasn't running away, I was just on a walk. And the money was just an advance on my monthly salary, so... He simply said, HM? She slammed her bot hands on the table and said, wait, don't tell me. She said in furiously, you weren't going to pay me? She said in full of anger, hold on. I worked like a machine, I'll have you know. This is exploitation. I'm risking my life with every poison I taste. I should get hazard pay at the very least. He chuckles and thinks in mind, look at her cute reactions. This is why she's so fun to watch. Giselle Rozevin would never act like this. He thinks, I think I get why the rooms of some dark mages end up becoming chicken coops. Even if they buy chicks for hexes, chicks are just so cute to kill. He simply raised his hand in air. A purple light shows in his hand. She was surprised to see that and said, be boss? I suppose I can live with no wages since I'm still in training, and you provide me with food and lodging. He chuckled and said, "You don't get it at all, do you?" After that, a white two butterflies show in the air. She was surprised to seeing that and said, "Whoa, so pretty." She said, "Are these butterflies real?" He stand up from chair and said, "They're my familiars. They'll be watching you from now on." She was happy to see the butterflies and said, "Ooh, so they'll be staying with me? Do they talk? Can I talk to them?" He was going back and thinks in mind that it doesn't seem like she understood me when I said they will watch her. He said, "They can talk to me?" She becomes sad and said, "Ah, no fair. I want to talk to them, too." She touched the red butterfly and said, "Wow, their wings are so pretty." He said with little smile, "The red one can poison you." She said, "It's fine. Poison doesn't kill me." He said, "And the white one can paralyze you with its stinger." She was confused and said, "A butterfly with a stinger? Interesting." After seeing that she was playing with butterflies, he thinks in mind, "You're the interesting one here." After seeing her happy, he thinks in mind she was really tense just a moment ago. But now, she looks pretty excited. He thinks, come to think of it, there's one more thing she can do. She said she could tell me the fates of some important people. Who are the important people she is referring to? What makes them important? And why is Wayne Ayore on that list? He said, "What do you know about Wayne Ayore?" After hearing that, she was shocked. He said, "Why do you keep saying you want to work for him?" She was shocked. She said, "Well, it just seems like he's the strongest bad guy." He replied, "I suppose he is." She said with a smile on her face, "Boss, if you ever see Big Boss, please tell him that I said he's the strongest person in the world. And I'd be grateful if you got me that job, too." He heavily breathed while saying, "Boss, huh?" He said, "What about you calling him a bad guy?" She simply replied, "Don't mention that part, please." He said, "Do you really want to work for Wayne Ayore?" She replied with joy, "Yes. I'd rather be the tail of a horse than the head of a donkey. It'd be like getting a stable job at a large company." He said, "You said you could be my boss's poison taster. But if you're the only one who can taste the difference, what use is this chart? How are you going to keep him from ingesting poison?" She said with great joy, "I'll just have to taste everything he eats first. Like the court ladies used to." "Oh, I suppose you wouldn't know what that is." She was sparkle while saying that, "Anyway, could you arrange a meeting between me and the big boss?" He replied, "No. I don't want to." She gets shocked and said, "Huh? But whyy?" She said, "Tasting everything he eats means that you would have to be at his side at all times, right?" She replied, "Huh? No, just when he eats." He said, "You never know when he will have a cup of tea or dessert, for example. So you'd have to follow him around and try everything he eats." She said, "I suppose so." He said, "Wait, in other words, you're saying you'll accompany him all day long?" She said doubtfully, "I guess so." He replied, "That's why I don't want to introduce you." He stepped away, and going from there she said, "Pardon?" "But," he said while going, "so just focus on manning the shop. I'll pay you a monthly salary." She was happy to hearing that, a salary. She said, "Not until you've become a full-fledged employee, of course." She slammed the table with hand, "Hold on, boss." She stepped close to him. He stopped there. She was stared on him. He saw her and thinks in mind, Her attitude changed all of a sudden. Does she have some other motive? She could just be acting like a fool to get closer to Wayne Ayore and assassinate him. In that case, he fidgeting his fingers and the butterflies fluttering. She said, "Boss?" She said furiously, "From my experience, it's essential that we negotiate a proper employment contract, so that we leave no room for dispute in the future." He still stands silent. She took a finger on him and said, "We need to discuss the length of my training period and my salary. I'll get us a pen." She finds a paper and pen from the table. He took a cold breath. After that he smiled loudly, and thinks in mind, "Whatever it is you summoned, this is the best decision you ever made, Giselle Rozevin." He covered his smile with hand and thinks in mind, "She's far too entertaining. I'll have to keep her by my side." She walked to the door and thinking in her mind, Once his familiars started watching me, Renil showed up even less than before. But thanks to that, I got more free time, and am able to take short walks every now and then. She was taking a bag and opened the door and was happy and thinks, sure, I have these two spying on me, but I don't mind, since they're so pretty. She put the bag on table and thinks, in fact, I'm much more at ease. By taking walks with the butterflies, I can prove to Renil that I have no intention of running away. She heard the sound that someone coming. The 10 come and opened the door and said, hi there, crazy Miss Giselle. She replied with smiling face, hello 10. She said with great attitude, 10, I'm not just a temp anymore. I'm officially in training. Please call me Trainee Giselle. 10 was smiling and thumbs up and said, ooh, you've gone even crazier in the past few days. She was smile and said, oh, whatever. I don't care what he calls me. I signed an official contract. The fact that my training period and the day I become officially an employee have been established probably means that Renil no longer intends to turn me over to the guards or experiment on me, right? She squeezed and thinked. In other words, this contract not only guarantees my employment, but also my survival. Tenna pointed a finger on doll and said, I'm here to buy something today. I need that cursed doll. She replied with joy, okay. I won't get it for you, so just grab it yourself. He was doubtful and said, here. Does it curse anyone who touches it? Or, she said, for a dark mage apprentice, 10 is a bit of a scaredy cat. She packs the doll in a bag and said, this is where you buy items for curses, not where you get cursed. He smiled and gave her money bag and said, I get it. Here you go. After that he going back from there and said, thank you. After selling the doll she thinks in her mind, now that Isabel is gone, I feel a bit lonely. All while the butterflies flutter. She become happy to see the butterflies and thinks, oh right, I still have these too. She saw the butterflies and think, they're just so pretty. The dark aura that emanated from Renil's fingertips must have been dark magic. It felt a bit different from the dark aura he used back in the jail cell to swallow up that assassin. This time, it kind of sparkled. Maybe his magic is flashy to match his looks. She heard the noise that, another customer already? She said, welcome to. The person come and bam on the table and said, is it you? He said furiously, are you the death row convict Renil took in? She simply replied, pardon? What do you mean, sir? He said, answer me. Did Master Renil take you in and make you the cashier here? She replied, I don't know about being taken in, but he did give me this job. He took his hands on crying face and said, no way. I was supposed to get this job. She said him, wait, there was a candidate for this cashier job? What's so special about this place? He said loudly, I want to see Master Renil. Where is he? She replied, the boss doesn't give a, he's so busy even I hardly ever see him. If you leave me your contact info I'll give it to him. She slammed her fist on table and said with smiling face, why would I trust a death row convict? I'd rather be called a fugitive instead. Also, I'm not on death row anymore. I don't intend to die anytime soon. 10 come and opened the door and said, crazy Miss Giselle. What's going on? I came back because I heard some noise. The unknown person who comes for job was in anger and turned to see 10. After that he ran back and said furiously, I'll let you off the hook for now, but just you wait. After seeing him she thinks, what on earth? She was alone stood on the stole and CTH people. She thinks while watching the people, thanks to the illusion magic cast here, I should be safe observing the outside world from this spot. I'm sure I can't venture out on my own because there are wanted posters of me everywhere. But I don't want to stay inside the shop all day. She thinks in her mind, hope I can just continue to work as a shopkeeper. Thinking about it, I realize that Giselle no longer has a part to play in the story. So as long as I stay cooped up in the shop, I shouldn't run into the main characters. Renil said that he won't introduce me to Wayne anyway, so I don't think I'll get mixed up with the villain either. She took breath and thinks, I guess staying at the shop is my best bet. And if I have to deal with another terrible customer, I'll just ask Renil for another doll like Isabel, and keep it with me by the counter as a bodyguard. Both butterflies flutter and flapping into her front. She's seeing the butterflies and thinks, "Hm? What is it? Are you trying to tell me something?" She was delighting to see the butterflies and thinks, "Gasp, ooh. Could it be that you two are mating?" The butterflies flutter in her front. She was doubtful to seeing that and thinks that, "Huh? Was I wrong? What is it then? Do you want me to go back?" She peeked to see the other side of illusion wall. Why? No one can see into this back alley thanks to illusion magic, right? The caption of guards talking with his guards. She saw him from the illusion wall and thinks in mind, wow, that guy is so tall. Is he the guard captain? You can tell how buff he is even under all that armor. His blonde hair and green eyes are so bright and shining. Almost like a knight in shining armor. He deeply thinks that he reminds me of the male protagonist of The Poison Apple. Dylan Stacy. Huh. She thinks deeply in mind, wait. After thinking she gets shocked, that's him. Dylan Stacy. Why is he here? The Dylan Stacy raised his head. She was much afraid and thinks that he saw me. The butterflies also flutter. She run fast with her stool fast as she can and thinking, no, no, no. Illusion magic doesn't work on him. Because Dylan can see the true nature of things. Magic tricks won't work on his eyes. She reached the shop and slammed the door. Immediately the butterflies also comes with her. She closed the door with lock tightly. She closed the shop. She was much afraid and sit down behind the table and took both hands on her face, and thinks deeply in mind that, why is Dylan still here? In the novel, he returns to his territory along with the female lead once Giselle is executed. Could it be that the story changed because Giselle wasn't executed? If I run into Dylan right now, he'll turn me in right away for sure. Then it's off with my head. She was much afraid and whispered with both butterflies and said, "You two, please call your master. It's an emergency." She was much afraid and silently sitting behind the table. She hearing the sound of the guards that are outside the shop. The sound was increasing and she was completely silent and afraid took her both hands on the face. She was completely silent. After some time the sound of guards stopped and she get a long breath and said, "He's gone." She thinks in mind that, if Dylan did not return to his territory because I didn't die, doesn't that mean he'll keep looking for me until I do? She shake her head on both sides and said, "Nah, no way. I'm not that important. I'm just some low-tier villain in the first part of the story. He has no reason to track me down and kill Giselle, threatening to kill the female lead. Yes, he does. And it's totally justified." She stand up and took a long cold breath and tap her hand on the table. Someone was at the door. She thinks that. I wonder if that was really Dylan at the door just now. Maybe it was just another villain customer. She just seeing the door and thinks in mind, I hope I was just overreacting when I came running back here. Someone still knocked at the door. She slightly opened the door and peeked from it. Someone at the door who already comes here for job. He said, "Why'd you lock the door and block out all the windows?" She replied, "I had my reasons. It's that terrible customer from the other day." She said, "What is it?" "As I told you before, I have already been hired to work here. And since I've signed a contract, the boss won't let me go for no reason." He scratched her head with his hand and said, "I get it. I just here to deliver something to Master Renil today." "Is he in, by the way?" After seeing him she thinks, huh? He's behaving himself today. She said, "I don't know. I'd love to see my boss's mug. I mean, his face, too. It's been a while." She saw the food on table and thinks in mind, I don't think he's forgotten about me, judging by the fact that the food supplies arrive regularly. Where could he be? And what is he up to? He scratched her head with fingers and said, "Could you help me carry in the goods, then? They're in the carriage which is too big to fit in the alley." She replied, "Are the goods too heavy or something? Is the carriage by the road?" He said, "Yup. I made sure it blocks the view into the alley, so we just have to pull out the goods quickly. She thinks in mind that, I don't want to go near the road right now, though. But she said him, do you really need my help? He said with little anger, I have other deliveries to make, so I don't have time. If you won't help me, I'm going to tell Master Renil his employee wasn't cooperative. She thinks, ugh. I guess I have to, since I'm still in training, I can't afford bad reviews. She walked behind him where he going and thinks in mind, as soon as we get the goods, I'll rush back to the shop and stay inside. After reach there she thinks, just like he said, the carriage is blocking the view from the road. This way, no one can see into the alley. It looks like there aren't any guards either. He said, all right. Go in and push the crate toward me. I'll receive it from outside. She replied him that, why should I go inside? You are the delivery man. You should be doing most of the work. He said in little anger, you couldn't handle the weight. You drop it and break it. Who do you think will have to pay for it then, huh? After hearing that she thinks in mind that, I don't like this. She saw inside the carriage. After seeing inside she said, there are a lot of crates in here. Which one is it? He replied that, the lower one. No, not that one. The one next to it. She seeing the crates and said, you should have just labeled the crates. Is this it? After a while someone put a sword on her shoulder and said, stop right there. It's Dylan Stacy. The unknown who took her to here come and said that, don't forget about the bounty you promised me, and wiping my criminal record too. The Dylan Stacy replied, since you have aided in capturing a heinous criminal, I will consider it. She was in full of anger and said, that bastard sold me out. The Dylan Stacy shouted and said, get moving. The carriage start going. She was fell on boxes that are placed in it. The Dylan Stacy put sword on its chest. She was afraid and said, ow. She said that, hold on. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Please lower your sword. He closer his sword to her, and she was much afraid and said stoutly, don't hold it closer to me. You can't threaten an innocent person like this. He smiles and said, innocent? He said with anger, do you think you are innocent, Giselle Rozevin? She said that, I hear that I look like this Giselle Rozevin a lot. You must have mistaken me for her too. She thinks, I have to play dumb. He not even rattle and silent. She thinks in mind, I guess he's not buying it. She said him, where are we going, by the way? He said with grip his sword tightly, your acting skills have improved. She was afraid and said, I am already aware of the fact that you have called upon an evil being into your body. She said him, with evil what? Excuse me? I thought he can see the true nature of things with those eyes. Was that all a lie? I'm not evil. Anyone can see that I have a perfectly virtuous soul. She said, I told you, I'm not the one you're looking for. He said that, is this a side effect of the forbidden magic, or is it that you've been swallowed whole by the demon? Either way, it doesn't matter. You will die anyway. She thinks in mind, does he have a split personality or something? In the novel, he was so sweet and considerate to the female lead. But all I see in front of me is a complete psycho. She said him that, so, are we headed to the execution ground? He replied, we must purge the demon inside of you first. She was afraid and said, purge the demon? What on earth do you mean? She get jolted and speechless. On second thought, there was a scene like this in the novel. It was about defeating a dark mage who made a contract with a demon. That character was burned alive with light magic, the weakness of dark mages. She said him loudly, and you call me a demon? You're the demon here. He replied, what? She said, ask any passerby who the demon is right now. Is it me, an innocent girl who is being threatened for trying to help someone move a crate? Or you, a man who lured in a harmless girl only to burn her alive? He replied with anger, nonsense. She shouted and said, the ability to see the true nature of things? Don't joke with me. You can't even recognize an innocent person with those eyes. She said that, don't go around telling people you have that gift. After hearing that he strangled her badly. He said, how? Do you know about my ability? Answer me. Who gave you that information? She said, how am I supposed to answer you when you're choking me, you idiot? Is this how I die? Getting choked to death? If this is how I go, I swear to come back as a ghost and haunt you. You evil protagonist bastard. A green light show around her neck. He gets shocked to see that. The both red and purple butterflies come and release powder. He left her neck and said, what is this powder? She was coughing and put their both hands on her neck. He gets shocked to see these butterflies. He shouted, a sly trick. He slashed the both butterflies. She gets shocked after seeing. He stepped close to her and said, your trick didn't work. Giselle Roz. Suddenly the purple light appears, he said, what are you doing? The purple flash of light comes out. The purple clusters of light appears in front of him. He started fight with it. The clusters of light increased, he said, damn it. These clusters of light covered around it, he shouted, art. Damn it. These light threw him out from the carriage. She stand up and seeing him feeling down back on the way. Someone stepped close to her and said, you'll fall off just like him if you stand there. She gets shocked to hear that. She said, ah. She stepped back. She turned her face towards him and said, boss. He was speechless. She turned towards him and said, I wasn't trying to run away. He replied, I know. She gets sad and said, I didn't kill the butterflies either. He replied, I know that too. He said, what else? He took his jacket on her. She said, pardon? He said that, don't you have something else to say to me? She said, something else? The carriage still going. She said him, sorry for leaving the shop unattended? He was speechless. She raised her finger towards him and said, oh, thank you for saving me. He was delighted to hear that. She gets sad and said, but since it was the butterflies who saved my life before you arrived, I feel like I should thank them first. He turned his face and said, they're my familiars. She said, did you order them to protect me? He replied, not really. She thinks in mind, that means the butterflies helped me on their own accord. He took all their credit by making me thank him instead. How mean? He said, I can tell what you're thinking. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to teleport on top of a moving object? She replied, oh yes, sir. Thank you for coming, sir. I owe you so much for your help, sir. She said doubtfully, so, since the butterflies are familiars, cutting them with a sword won't destroy them, right? He replied, is that what you think? I ordered them to watch you, and you got them killed. She closed his fist and furiously said, Dylan was the one who killed them, not me. Wait. So are they okay or not? She thinks in mind, judging by his attitude, they must be fine. But since he appeared after the butterflies were cut down, maybe he got some sort of signal when they died. She thinks, oh right, Dylan. She said, hey boss, do you think that man is dead? She thinks in mind, he did fall off of a moving carriage after all. What happens to the story if the main character is dead? He said, trying to make sure he's dead, are we? She raised her finger and replied, no. That man has to get killed by someone else. He should die at the hands of the villain, not me. He said in strange way, is that so? By the way, you talk about him like he's a stranger, Giselle. She was silent, and he thinks, I heard that you would freak out if there was so much as a scratch on Dylan Stacy. I thought you were head over heels for him. He thinks deeply in mind, ugh, look at that smug face. He's teasing me again. I bet he's convinced that I am not Giselle Rozevin anyway. I can't believe he's bringing the past up. He's doing this on purpose, right? She was crying and thinks in mind that, let's see, how did Giselle act toward Dylan in the story? Her love was totally one-sided. She was obsessed with him and would call him my love and my darling. Gah. And now I have to act like that too. She thinks, what do you mean? My darling isn't a stranger. I cannot stand him getting hurt. Even now, I am so worried about him that my heart aches. She took her hand on her head. He watched her and speechless. He turned and said, "We're heading back?" She stepped behind him and thinks, "What's wrong with him?" He snapped her finger and the purple lights show. She thinks, "Oh, is this another spell?" The cluster of purple's light flashes in their shop and they teleport there. She said, "Uff," and thinks, "Whoa, cool. We just teleported. Renil's magic is really amazing." She turned her face and thinks in mind, if Renil is this powerful, how strong is Wayne Ayore? Also, how can someone that strong die from poisoning? Does that even make sense? She saw the poison bottles there and thinks in mind, I thought I'd never see you again, my cute little poison bottles. He said, "Stop goofing off and start packing. We have to move the shop." "Okay," she replied, "I get it." "Wait, we're moving the shop? Really?" He said, "Really?" She thinks, is it just me or does he seem a bit moody? He said, "That bastard found out where the shop is, remember?" She packs the poison bottles and thinks, Renil seems sure that Dylan survived. I guess the main character wouldn't die that easily. Will he chase after me again once he recovers somehow? She thinks that he must be pretty hurt, since he fell off of a moving carriage. But that's not my problem right now. I suppose that female protagonist he loves so much will fix him up. After packing the poisons bottle, she said him, "Packing is all well and good, but how are we going to move all of this?" He opens a red bottle lid. He said, "I'm going to move everything to the new shop all at once with magic." He was draw something with fingers on the floor with that red bottle. She's shocked after seeing that and thinks, "What? He can do that?" She said, "Will these bottles survive getting teleported? Should I add more fillers to the boxes?" "Yes, make sure all the fragile items are packed securely." She said, "Oh, speaking of boxes, I didn't just blindly follow Dylan, my darling, you know. I was tricked. Someone sold me out." He replied, "I know, and I know who it was." She doubtfully said, "You do? How?" He turned his face to her and said, "My familiars were at your side, weren't they? As soon as you were caught, they told me." She was smiling and thinks, wait, so, is he saying that he knew I was caught but just watched until I was strangled? He stand up and wipe his hands with cloth. "Do you want to know what happened to the guy who tricked you?" She trembled and said, "And no?" He said, "Come here." She shakes her head and said, "And no, I don't want to see what you did to him. I'm bad with blood. I can't stand it." He replied, "I'm not going to show him to you. Just come here." She stand up and said, "Okay." He touched her and said, "It looks like it will bruise." She was smiling and said, "Well, I'm just glad I didn't get burned alive. Bruises are nothing compared to that." He said, "Did he say he'd burn you alive?" She replied furiously, "It was insane. He kept talking about purging the demon or something. How could he think I am a demon? He acted more like a demon himself." He said, "Right? He's a demonic scum." She replied with anger, "Exactly. He demanded answers while strangling me. I seriously thought he was mad," and suddenly she thinks, "Oops." She thinks, "Oh, right. Giselle is so in love with Dylan that she'd never say anything bad about him." He said, "So you won't be sad anymore even if that scumbag gets hurt, right?" She thinks, "I guess so. Maybe?" He said with little smile, "Also, you won't be calling him by some disgusting pet name like, my darling, anymore, right?" She was smiling and thinks, "Sure." Oh yeah, Wayne Ayore was both the villain and second male lead in the story. So as his underling, Renil wouldn't be happy about me liking his boss's rival. He said, "That's great." He said that he's the kind of fool who would march over here with his knights tomorrow morning even with a broken leg. That's why we need to move right away, so bear with me. You can rest all you want once we've teleported." She was afraid and thinks, "Oh, is he worried about me?" He crouched and said, "Keep packing. I have to check this magic circle." "Wait." She thinks, wait, is he worried about me or not? He carefully seeing the red circle which he drawn. He forwarded his hand towards her and said that, "It's ready." If you don't have anything else to take with you, come here. He pulled her hand towards him. They both sit in the circle and red light appears. He said, now shall we? The clusters of red light flash in the new place. They both teleport new place with their boxes. Whoa, is this the new shop? It's so spacious. He was coughing and start sweating. He was staggered, she said, boss. He go to the door and saw his fist on the door. She said that, hey, are you okay? He forwarded his hand towards her and said, this is the room you'll be staying in. He pulled her and said, go in and rest. She replied, I think you're the one who should be resting. He left her inside the room and said, let's keep the shop closed until we unpack everything. Go ahead and get some rest. She said, wait. Boss. But he closed the door. She thinks, I guess Renil used up too much magic to move the entire shop. He looked exhausted. I hope he's okay. She went to the bed and thinks, he must have gone to get some rest as well, right? She recalled the past. That was really close. I thought I was going to die. I've never been so scared for my life before. She clenched her fist and thinks, I'll never let my guard down like that ever again. It's fine. I'm still alive, and that's all that matters. I'd better stick close to Renil from now on. She slept. There are some people sit on the chairs and some stand around the unknown person who hold the stick. Someone said, welcome back, Master Wayne. Master Wayne see the paper and said, I trust the preparations are going well. Someone said, yes, Master. If all goes well, those knights won't notice a thing. The Master Wayne replied, good. Someone comes and said, Master Wayne. He replied, what is it, Pedro? Pedro comes near the Master Wayne and whisper in his ear. Master Wayne replied, I expect everything to go perfectly. Pedro said, the teleportation circle is ready. They both going from there. They reached in front of Manor. They opened the door. Renil sit here and said, have you checked on it? They both bowed down their head and said, yes, he is still alive. Renil said, he is tenacious, so I expected as much. He does look pale. Normally, he would use a magic item or the aid of mages for such a large-scale teleportation. Pedro thinks, that is, if only Dylan had not found the location of the shop. Pedro said that man should have left the city already. Why was he still there? Master Wayne also said that, and how did he find the location of the shop? Master Wayne said there must be a spy among us. Renil said, move all of our forces out of the city by tonight. Have them know that I won't hesitate to kick them out of the black clouds if they dawdle and get caught by that bastard. Renil said, Wayne, head over to the walls. Start an assembly to distract that bastard for a while. They both said, yes, sir. Master Wayne goes back, but Pedro stay here and said, Master Renil? The woman you took in, she's Giselle Rozevin, is she not? Why did you take her? Renil replied, she's an employee. I hired her. You hired her? Pedro said, a nationwide warrant has been issued for her arrest. Things may get complicated if you keep her around. Renil saw his face in the cup and silent. Pedro said, Master Renil? He replied with a smile on his face, her training period is 1 month. Call her Crazy Giselle. It's her nickname. She'll love it. He was chuckle. The bell rang. Both the red and purple butterflies flutter around him. He said, is she asleep? The butterflies replied, yes, she fell asleep. He said, how carefree. He was going towards the door. He make a teleportation gate with magic. He thinks, it's annoying, but I have to conserve my magic power at the moment. I have no choice but to rely on a teleportation gate. He step inside the teleport gate. He come where the boxes place and thinks to see that boxes, I'll have to call for some people to help unpack. He opened the door of room where Giselle sleep. He come close to her bed, sit and whisper, Giselle. But she was sleeping. The butterflies said him, should we stay here and keep watch of this woman, master? He replied, yes, until she wakes up. The butterfly said that, should we just make sure she does not die as you ordered before? He replied, yes. He thinks what the Pedro said, what a nationwide warrant has been issued for her arrest. Things may get complicated if you keep her around. He's seeing her and thinks in mind that, I've avoided fighting against Dylan in person so far, but that streak was ruined when he kidnapped Giselle. Is her life worth all of this trouble? He combed her hairs with fingers. I suppose I'll find out. But until I do, I'll have to keep her by my side. Meanwhile, on a different place. Dylan was injured and someone gets him first aid. After completing his first aid, she said, I'm done, Dylan. He replied, Thank you, Viviana. She smiled and said, There's no need to thank me. This is nothing. She was Viviana Charlotte, female lead of the Poison Apple. Dylan said, Viviana, that wicked woman has joined forces with another dark mage. In reply, she said, Dylan, and silent. He said, You should head to my estate. She replied, No. I'll help you here. He said, No. Don't you remember how many times that woman nearly killed you? She dipped piece of cloth in water and said, There's a rumor going around that Giselle Rozevin has changed. He replied, She hasn't changed. She's gone insane. That makes things worse. She points towards herself while saying, Dylan, we must give her a chance to be forgiven by God. I may be able to purify her if she has changed. He replied while grabbing her hand, Viviana, there's only one way to purify a soul that's been tainted by dark magic, and that's by destroying them completely with the purifying fire. Besides, what if you're put in danger once again? You know just how evil that woman is. She may be biding her time for now, but she will soon do something heinous again. Giselle Rozevin has already lost her right to go to heaven. Don't waste your energy on someone like that. She said, But Dylan, I pity her. He stand up while saying, She doesn't deserve your pity. I'll take care of her on my own. After hearing that, she replied, All right, but please be careful. I don't want you to get hurt. He said, I will. While he going back, she said, By the way, Dylan, you haven't heard anything about Reniel, have you? He replied, No, I haven't. She said, Where could he be? And what could he be doing? He replied, Who knows? You should leave the city tomorrow, Viviana. Back to shop where Giselle and Reniel teleported. Wow, she can't believe she'd be face to face with all these villains from the novel. One of them came to the counter and said, Whoa, so it's true. Hello, Giselle Rozevin. My name is Sullivan. I'm a doctor by trade, and I also experiment with potions. She said in her mind, I know. You're a mad scientist who experiments on human subjects and is addicted to drugs. He took the wrong potion as a kid and stopped growing, so despite his looks, he's actually quite old. In the novel, he was beheaded by Dylan when he got caught, experimenting on Viviana. The man behind him is probably Gilbert. He's an arcane swordsman who may not be that great with dark magic but excels at the sword. But wasn't he Wayne's personal guard? What's he doing here? And that middle-aged woman is Windria. She and Pedro are both Wayne's second-in-command. She's also the only necromancer and shaman that appears in the novel. Wow, it's like she popped right out of the book. This is so amazing. So this really is the Poison Apple. And since they're all just side characters, I'm not as intimidated. In fact, it's like I'm having a meet and greet with them. Sullivan thinks and said, So you really are crazy. She replied, By the way, how did you get in here? The door should be still locked. The shop's not open for business yet. Someone came and said, So you really were hired? How do you do? I am Pedro, the owner of this building. She said in her mind, Oh, that's Wayne's assistant, Pedro. Did he just say he's the landlord? Pedro said, I hear you are in training, and that your training period will last for 1 month. She shocked and said, Yes. And thinks, how does the landlord know about my training period? Pedro asked, I hear your nickname is Crazy Giselle, is that right? After hearing that, she smiled. And furiously said in her mind, Reniel, I'm taking back that thank you for saving me. Then she replied, It's just Giselle. He said, But I heard that you were Crazy Giselle. She slammed her hand on table, and I'm not crazy. Gilbert and Windria whispered to each other. Windria whispered, When I heard the rumors, I thought it was all an act, but she must have really gone insane. Gilbert replied, I hear she took the wrong potion. While standing up, Sullivan slapped his knees and said, Oh my. Taking the wrong potion could have done that to you. Oh, I can relate. Giselle said in her mind, I tell you, you're wrong, Grandpa. She sighed and said, Just call me whatever you want. Pedro bowed and said, As you wish, Miss Crazy Giselle. Sullivan shook his hand and said, Hello, Crazy Giselle. She said to herself in mind, Calm down. Windia said, That's too long. I'll just call you Giselle. Then she introduced herself, Giselle, I'm Windria. And he was Gilbert. Giselle replied, Oh, right, hello everyone. Pedro said, Oh, I was the one who asked them to come here. I hear you need help to unpack. She smiled and replied, Oh yes, I do. Thank you? She thinks, do landlords in this world help their tenants unpack or something? Well, I guess I should go along with what he says. All of those help to unpack boxes and settle down things. Giselle said, Excuse me, Mr. Landlord? Pedro replied, Please just call me Pedro. She said, Oh, sure. Mr. Pedro, have you been in contact with my boss? He asked, Your boss? She replied, Oh, I mean Reniel, Master Reniel. He said, No. I heard that he has urgent matters to tend to and won't be able to show up for a while. He also asked me to set up the shop while he is gone. He told me that you, Miss Crazy Giselle, are easily frightened and too weak to even touch most of the cursed items. That is why I called in people to help. She replied, I see. She guessed Reniel did really ask Pedro to help me out. Anyway, were all these characters from the novel actually bipolar or something? Just like Dylan, the villains aren't at all like I imagined them to be. Shop or settle down. All of them were sitting on the dining table. Giselle asked, Have all of you also moved into this building? Sylvian replied, Yup. I run a clinic for villains next door. He has no license. Windria has a laboratory upstairs, and Gilbert stays in the room next to hers. She smiled and said, Wow, that means this is a den full of villains. Sylvian also smiled and replied, Right? Anyway, what are we to do about that bruise? I don't have any medicine that gets rid of bruises. Windria said, I may know hexes, but healing magic is beyond me, so I can't help either. Giselle said, Dark magic can't heal, right? That's okay. She said in her mind, and in turn, light magic can't curse. She shrugged and said, I'm sure the bruise will go away in time. Gilbert said, It won't. That bastard's mana is akin to that nasty light magic. Giselle said, What do you mean by that nasty, light magic? Gilbert clenched glass on table and said, In other words, light magic is poison for people like us. Giselle said, Did you just say that light magic is like poison to us? Windria replied, Basically, yes. Light and dark magic are incompatible, after all. After hearing that, Giselle thinks, It's like poison? Could that mean it might not work on me? Well, I doubt it. Mana is different from actual poison after all. That's just a metaphor. Sullivan said, Mana is energy similar to magic power that is used by knights like Dylan. The biggest difference is that magic power is inherent, while mana can be acquired through training. Oh, come to think of it, the novel mentioned that Viviana helped Dylan with his training. She guessed she was able to help because light magic is similar to mana. But even if Dylan's mana has the same kind of power as light magic, we don't know whether that affects me negatively, right? She said, I'm not a dark mage, so mana shouldn't affect me too badly, right? Windria replied, Didn't you make a deal with a dark mage and mess with forbidden magic? Then, dark magic must have seeped into you. She surprised and said, Is that how that works? She thinks, I need time alone to give this some thought. She stand up while saying, Oh, right. I'll go and get more food. Sullivan said, Go ahead. She thinks while seeing herself in mirror, Did he even use mana when he strangled me? I knew the bruise looked too intense. Sullivan stepped closer and said, Savage bastard. How could he just strangle someone like that? I swear, anyone close to a light mage is total garbage. How could he be so rough with a woman who's already gone crazy? She smiled and said in her mind, "It's nice that you're taking my side, but please stop calling me crazy." Windria came and took the food tray and said, "Still, not a single dark mage has gotten away from an encounter with Dylan. You were lucky." "That's true. He's a terrifying enemy to us dark mages." Sullivan said, "I bet his blood is blue, too. I'd love to get a sample someday." Windria replied, "You'll die trying." Sullivan said, "Come on. You said you want his corpse, Windria." Windria replied, "That's because he'd be a powerful corpse. But I refuse to become a corpse myself while trying to turn him into one." Giselle thinks their conversation is pretty horrifying. Gilbert came with a strangely ominous orb and said, "Here you go, Giselle." She said, "Oh, okay." Gilbert said, "Take it. Throw it at Dylan." After seeing that, Giselle replied, "Mr. Gilbert? Perhaps you didn't know it, but this is one of the shop's merchandise. It's pricey, too." Gilbert said, "So?" She said in her mind, "Never mind." Sullivan said, "Listen to Gilbert and keep that on you for self-defense. Dylan is just as relentless as he looks, you know. He is notorious for not letting go of his target." Giselle thinks Dylan was all about justice in the novel, so I bet he'll keep coming after me. She recalled when Dylan said, "How do you know about my ability?" Giselle thinks, I shouldn't have let that slip. Dylan's ability to see the true nature of things is a top-secret detail that is only revealed in the latter half of the novel. And I let him know that I'm aware of it. So obviously, Dylan will come after me with all he's got. Windria said, "Don't worry too much. If Dylan shows up, we won't just stand idly by." Sylvian smiled while saying, "That's right. We'll keep vigilant and protect you. You're our one and only shop employee, after all." Windria said, "In any case, you may get hurt, but we will make sure you do not get killed. All three of us are rather strong, you see." Giselle smiled and said, "It's okay. I can take care of myself." Windria patted her while saying, "When adults say that they will protect you, just thank them." Though I suppose Sullivan can hardly be counted as an adult, despite his age. Sylvian shouts, "Windria!" She crying and said, "Huh?" Windria asked, "Wait, what's wrong?" Sylvian said, "Don't tell me your neck hurts." She wiped her tears and said, "No, it's just, this is the first time anyone's offered to protect me. She thinks I've had to fend for myself my whole life before I got to this world." Sylvian said, "Man, that bastard must have scared you really badly. I can't believe the wicked Giselle Rozevin turned so soft." Gilbert also said, "Don't worry. You're safe here." Sylvian said, "Exactly. Gilbert is especially good at protecting people, right?" Gilbert said, "Right. Also, I'll grant you the privilege of hiding in the back room of my clinic." After hearing that, she smiled. She seen the ominous orb and said in her mind, somehow, I feel like touching cursed items won't be so scary anymore. Next day, Giselle cleans the schleff and thinks, my head is still spinning from the incident with Dylan, and the fact that I'm in a different world, but I can't let it keep me down. Then she said, all right. I'm the one and only employee here. Let's get this shop up and running. I have to get moving to make money. Renil was behind her and said, you mean, I have to pay you for you to make money? She get jolt. She said furiously, boss. I get that you can teleport, but please stop sneaking up on me like that. If I die from a heart attack, put it down as an industrial accident. He replied, everyone seems to notice me just fine. You're just too dense. She said, everyone? Who exactly? He replied, Pedro, Sullivan, Windria, Gilbert, and so on. She said loudly, I'm different from them. He replied, judging by how loud you're being, you seem to have recovered. She said, well, yes. Unpacking didn't take long, and I've been resting in my room ever since. By the way, boss, he replied, are you all right? He said, never mind that. I heard you cried. They told me that you were so touched by them offering to protect you that you cried like a baby and, she shouted, wow. Wait. No. He said, when I saved you, You thanked me so begrudgingly? Why would you cry when all they did was promise to protect you? She replied begrudgingly. Not at all. I'm most grateful to you, boss. Then he wears the scarf to her. She said, What's this? He replied, Use this for the meantime. I'll get you something better later. She asked, Something better? He said, Get ready to head out. She replied, Head out? What about the shop? He said, Keeping it closed for a day is fine. I'll show you around this town today. Welcome to the town of villains, Van Hel. After seeing the people outside, she said, I can't believe there's a busy street right in front of the shop. This is such a good spot. He said, This is the busiest part of town. That grocery store over there is famous for its fresh fruits. She replied, Wow. He said, And the store next door is the largest confectionery in Van Hel. She said, Ooh. He shows her some stalls and said, Oh, sometimes there's a stall in front of our shop that sells sausages. It's first come, first served, so you better dash out if you want some. She replied, This is amazing. She was so happy. And thinks that there's so much to eat around here. Working here will be so much fun. Wait, no, this is bad. She said, Hold on. I like that there's food everywhere, but this is no good. She whispered, We're villains. Is it really okay for the shop to be out in the open? He smirked while saying, It's fine because this is Van Hel. It's far away from the city we were in before, too. She said, Right, Van Hel? In the novel, Van Hel was a town that only allowed criminals to enter. There was just one rule that they must abide by to live in Van Hel. Anyone causing a scene will be banished. That's why no one in this town really paid attention to each other. He said again, Do you get it now? She sighed and said, Yeah, I guess it's fine for our shop to be out in the open here. Van Hel is where the big boss, Wayne Ayore, has his headquarters, after all. He replied, So you knew. Come clean. How much do you know about Wayne Ayore? She said, Just about as much as the other members of the Black Clouds would know, I think. Just a tiny bit. I do know a little about the future, but that doesn't mean I know all about him. She said in her mind, The novel just described him as a handsome man with silver hair. He said, Is that it? She replied, Yes. She puts her both hands on stomach and said, Oops. He said, It's nearly lunchtime, so let's go eat. They go to restaurant and eating food there. After eating food while coming back, she said, That restaurant was so good. And thinks, Looks like feeding her will be costly. She ran away and said, I don't have to sneak around anymore. She was happy and said, Van Hel is now my second home. After hearing that, he surprised and said, Where's your first home? She replied, Somewhere out there. And thinks in mind, It's not like he'd know even if I told him. Suddenly a carriage come fast. He pulled her away and said, Watch out. She replied, Oh, thank you. After seeing carriage, she thinks, That thing nearly ran me over. He said, Here, you are responsible if you get hit by a carriage. She gets shocked and said, That doesn't make any sense. He smiled and replied, Yes, it does. In Van Hel anyway. She said, But don't you get banished if you make a scene? He replied, If you make a scene, yes. In other words, if you get rid of somebody quietly, nobody would care. She clenched and said in her mind, I take it back. This is not my second home. She gets shudder while saying, I guess I'll be safest inside the shop. He said, Take Gilbert with you if you need to go anywhere. She said, Isn't Mr. Gilbert the big boss's bodyguard? He asked, Is that what he said? Did he say he is Wayne's bodyguard? She replied, No, but it seemed like he was. He said, Oh, so is this part of the information you know? Gilbert answers to the big boss, so he'll do whatever he says. She asked, Wait, did the big boss ask Mr. Gilbert to protect me? She sparkled while saying, Does the big boss know me? Did you tell him about me, boss? Does he come to the shop? Can I meet him? He scratched her head while saying, Are you that eager to see Wayne Ayore? She thinks, Wait. Why does he sound irritated? Does he not want me to meet his boss? She said, Of course. They say he's a total hottie. He said in his mind, I mean, I guess that's true. She thinks so. He must be worried about losing an employee if I end up working for Wayne. Come on. I want a promotion. She said, I heard his silver hair is really pretty and shiny. Is that true? He replied, I guess so. She said, they say he's so handsome that you never forget him once you see him. Since the big boss already knows about me, please let me meet with him. I've never seen anyone with silver hair. He replied, are you that interested in silver hair? She said in her mind, well, I wouldn't say interested, it's just cool, so. He said, what about black hair? She said, he don't tell me you're jealous of the big boss's looks. He replied, why do you keep idolizing someone you don't even know? You're so easy. She asked, what, are you saying the big boss isn't handsome? He replied, no. He is. After hearing that, she sighed and going back. He throbbed his hand on head. After that he recalled that she said, you're affiliated with the Black Clouds, right? I know the fate of some important individuals, you see. The fate of some important individuals, he asked, I have a question. You said that you know the fate of some important individuals. She turned back while hearing this. He said, does the individuals you were referring to include Dylan Stacy too? She replied, yes. He said, oh? What happens to him then? Does he die by being poisoned too? She said, he is murdered. He asked, by whom? She said, by Wayne Ayore. He smirked and said, I see. So that's his fate. She said in her mind, why is he so happy to hear that Dylan will be murdered? Does he hate him that much? Well, Dylan's been an enemy of dark mages for a long time. He stepped close and said, let's go. She jolted and thinks, or is there something else? They go back in front of their shop. He said, I have somewhere to be, so I'll get going. She replied, you're really busy? He said, I am. You can take the day off. He raised his hand and purple flashes glows in his hand. Suddenly two butterflies fluttered. She said, the butterflies. I knew they were still alive. He said, the red one is Ren, and the white one is Van. She smiled while saying, oh, so their names are Ren and Van. He said, if you don't know the name of a familiar, you can't communicate with it. They said you chided them for not being able to talk to you. That's why I'm telling you their names. She furiously replied, what? I didn't chide them. Right. Tell him, Ren? And Van? Van said, she said we were mating. When we tried to warn her, she's a dummy. Ren said, you're the one who couldn't understand us, idiot. After hearing that, she gets shocked. He smiled while saying, now that you can talk to them, you should thank them. After all, you said you felt like you should thank them first, right? She refused and said, oh, come on, boss. Just let it go. After a few hours she sit alone in the shop and butterflies flutter around her. She eating cookies and said in her mind, I thought that Wayne would drop by the shop soon, because he asked Mr. Gilbert to protect me, but then she mumbled, I guess I won't get eye candy anytime soon. Meeting Wayne in person is harder than I thought. Ren said, a strong and beautiful mate is desirable. Van said, if you want to get yourself a good mate, you need to be strong and beautiful yourself. She replied while eating cookies, hey, just because I made a mistake one time doesn't mean you should keep harping on about mating. Van said, you're too lazy. Ren said, why do you never exercise and just eat sweets every day? She replied, workers need sweets to survive. I don't expect some butterflies to understand. Butterflies flutter. Ren said, she's given up. Vane said, she won't be able to attract a good mate. She put her both hands on ear and said in her mind, shut up, shut up. I wish I knew how to get them to stop talking. Freedom for the oppressed worker. She asked, by the way, how do you communicate with the boss? Is it like through telepathy? Ren replied, we can only speak when our master gives us permission to. She said in her mind, so they only talk when Reniel wants them to? I thought they'd be a quick way to reach Reniel when I need him. Ren said, but if we get attacked, our master will know. She smiled and said, I hope you never do. She thinks, I guess I can forget about having Renil as my emergency contact. I might as well write down what I remember from the novel. Dylan is after me now, so I should prepare myself somehow. She appointed the butterflies and said, I'm going to do some work, so don't talk to me. Then she write down on diary and said in her mind, the final boss of the first arc, Giselle, is defeated. It's only in the second act that the real villain, Wayne Ayore, starts appearing. Viviana, Dylan, and Wayne. The place the three of them meet again is at the Great Assembly of the Dark Mages. Wayne united all the Dark Mages and attempted to place every nation under the influence of dark magic. In the novel, the Great Assembly was a way for him to show off the power of the Dark Mages. She remembered reading something about them trying to sacrifice an entire town. The Poison Apple focuses more on the emotions of the characters, so I don't know much about what the Dark Mages actually did. And wasn't Viviana dying from a curse at the time? Giselle had put a curse on her with everything she had left, right before she died. But Giselle summoned me instead of cursing Viviana. She slammed her both hands on table and said in her mind, is that where things began changing? Does that mean Viviana isn't cursed right now? Then what happens? If Viviana is alright, she must be much stronger than she was in the novel now. The villain might lose at this rate. Then she closed the diary and said in her mind, but that would mean the end of me, too. The villains are the only people I can rely on. Doesn't that mean I should be doing my best to fight for Wayne Ayore? She mumbled, if Viviana is cursed, everything will be back to normal, right? Suddenly, Windria came and said, did I hear something about curses? She gets shocked and said, Windria? When did you get here? Windria raised her hand while saying, just now. If you need a curse, let me know. I'll even give you a special discount. She replied, well, actually, is cursing someone hard? Windria said, would you like to study it? I can curse someone for you, but I don't take apprentices. Suddenly Ten opened the door and said, Mistress Windria. After seeing him, she said in her mind, Ten? It's nice to see a new side of Ten, but Ten at the previous shop. Ten said to Windria while crying, Mistress Windria, why would you come down here yourself when you have me? She thinks, it seems like this is a bad time to talk. Windria replied, why would I use a delivery man when my laboratory is right upstairs? Ten sobbed while saying, a delivery man? I'm your one and only apprentice, Mistress Windria. Windria replied, I told you, I don't take apprentices. Ten said, but what about all the good times we shared? After seeing that she rise and said in her mind, he said he was a dark mage in training, but I had no idea Windria was his teacher. Besides, she hasn't even accepted him as her apprentice, so he is self-proclaimed. He cried while saying, Mistress Windria, please don't abandon me. She pushed both and said, now, please don't cause a scene inside the shop. You can argue outside. She said in her mind, Ten seems a bit immature in front of Windria. Then she closed the door. Someone knocked the door. She said, oh, are you done? Some people came and said, hey, Miss Giselle. She replied, welcome. She said in her mind, I guess I'll have to work on my notes before bed or something. It's so busy. Renil manifested the wren to spy on her. He observed and concluded, I thought she'd leave the shop unattended and go out all the time, but she's working hard. She kept hanging out in that alley at the last location, but now, she's watching the shop so diligently. That shop used to be closed more often than it was open, so closing it up every once in a while would have been fine. Suddenly someone shouted, you filthy dark mages. Renil turned to the voice. The person questioned to Renil companions, how much longer do you think you'll be able to get away with this? One of them kicked him while saying, shut up, you spy bastard. Master Wayne, I'll get him to talk. Master Wayne replied, please leave this to me. I'll find out everything he knows. Renil stepped close and said, Master Wayne? Would you leave him to me? Master Wayne replied, fine. He's all yours. Renil said, thank you for the opportunity. Who on earth is he? Master Wayne asked to both companions, you two may leave. They replied, "Yes, sir," and left. Master Wayne closed the door with chains. Renil lifted up Spy and said, "You won't be able to get a word out of me. Gotta dash." Then he put a piece of cloth into his mouth and said, "You don't need to say a word. Just stay alive." Master Wayne said, "I shall cast another security spell." He replied, "All right." Then he stand up and snap his finger, and a chair comes up. He sit on the chair and Master Wayne stood beside him. He said, "How much magic would I have to use to turn my hair completely silver?" Master Wayne replied, "Are you asking me?" He said, "Who else would I ask? That guy has a gag in his mouth." Master Wayne clears his thought and said, "I was wondering why you wanted to take care of this yourself. Was it just so you could change your hair color? Taking care of this one man won't get you anywhere close." He said, "Even if I keep going until the end?" Master Wayne replied, "Yes, not a chance." He remained silent. Master Wayne said in her mind, "Did something happen?" He usually despises the sight of even just a strand of silver hair showing. "Maybe it's something serious." He said, "Is my silver hair that pretty and shiny?" Master gets shocked and said, "Pardon? Don't tell me that new employee's madness is contagious." He replied, "What a nice way to tell me I've gone mad." Master Wayne bowed down showing his hairs and said, "Is my silver hair pretty and shiny?" He replied, "Are you insane?" Master Wayne replied, "My reply is the same." He said, "You have no eye for these things?" Master Wayne said, "If you'd like to use a lot of magic, you could keep teleporting the shop for the next few days. You'll run out of magic in no time if you go on doing something so foolish." He replied, "There's nothing foolish about it when I have the ability to make it work." Master Wayne said, "It was a waste of magic power. By the way, I was surprised to hear you moved the shop to Van Hel. You insisted on running it right under the noses of the knights because you said Van Hel was too safe and boring." He smiled while saying, "My employee at the shop is a bit feeble." He recalls the moments. Besides, Dylan marked Giselle's neck with his mana. To avoid being tracked down by him, it's best for her to hide in Van Hel, where all the magic in the air can block out his mana. The mana mark on her neck won't last forever, but I can't erase it right away either. We'll just have to wait for it to fade on its own. Damn it. I hate everything about that bastard." Then he said, "Anyway, come to the shop when you're done with work. You have a fan waiting for you." Master Wayne replied, "Are you referring to that temp?" He replied, "She's not a temp anymore. I plan on promoting her to a proper employee. She works hard enough to deserve it." Master Wayne said, "Come to think of it, I heard that Pedro was pleased. Because the business is running more smoothly thanks to her. I hear she can identify poisons by taste." Then Master Wayne thinks and said, "Are you sure she really is that, Giselle? I suppose the rumors about her going insane were true." He said in her mind, "Insane, I suppose people can't help but come to that conclusion since she's so different from the real Giselle." That's right. No one knows who Giselle really is. The only person who can see the you inside of Giselle Rozevin is me. After that, Master Wayne said, "By the way, are you going to leave him like that?" He stand up and said, "Oh, right. I shouldn't make him wait. We're all busy." He stepped close to Spy and said, "Aren't we?" The Spy gets shudder after seeing him. He said, "I'll quickly check what's inside your head before I let you go." Master Wayne said, "You're letting him go?" Renil said in her mind, "I need to offer Dylan some good bait so that he stops chasing my employee. And starts chasing me instead. Not that he'll ever catch me." He said, "Oh, if I scramble up this man's mind and let him go, that master of white magic may realize what I did." After that he said, "I wonder if the Honorable Viviana still misses me." And the purple light flushes. Later in shop, Giselle sit and thinks, "All I wanted was to work in peace." Ten sit on chair in front of her crying and mumbled, "When will you be back, Mistress Windria? How did it come to this?" She said, "Please don't sleep here, Ten." Suddenly the powder shows. She wondered, "Wait, where is this black powder coming from? Poison powder? Ren released this poison powder. She shouts, "Wait, Ren! Don't kill him! He's a customer!" Ren replied, "That one is too noisy. I can't sleep." She said, "You're right, but you can't kill him." Then she point to Van and shout, "Van! Put away your poison stinger!" Ten mumbled, "There's no way Mistress Windria would abandon me like Thias." She said, "Stop crying, Ten. You nearly died just now." Suddenly the Renil appears. She turned to Renil and said, "Please get your familiars to back off." "Please, boss?" He smiled while saying, "Why should I?" After seeing him, she said in her mind, "Why is the boss being so scary?" He said, "I didn't move the shop to a bigger location so you could do this." She replied, "Do what?" He said, "It wasn't so you could bring your boyfriend in the shop." She wondered and said, "Boy, what? What's with this nonsense?" She pointed finger and said, "Wait, are you talking about Ten?" He said, "Why would you tell me his name? It's not like I have any reason to remember it." "This is bad." She replied, "Don't you know Ten? He's Windria's apprentice. Besides, it's not like I have the time to date anyone. I've enough to worry about." He patted and said, "All right. Forget what I said." She replied, "Please don't mess up my bangs." He asked, "So? Why is he here?" She replied, Technically he is a customer. A disruptive one, but still." He interrupted, "Why would you have customers at this hour?" She said, "That's what I'm saying. You get the issue, right? As your employee, I have to tell you about a few major flaws of working in this neighborhood. The customers don't care about the shop's business hours. Take Ten and Windria, for example. Windria started coming by at dawn just to avoid running into Ten, who sits in here all day long. If I'm still asleep, she lets herself in by picking the lock, and just leaves money on the counter for whatever she takes. The shop's business hours don't mean anything." He thinks and said, "Windria could just get rid of this guy herself. Why is she avoiding him?" She said, "Oh, those two seem to have some issues," and said in her mind Ten is begging Windria not to abandon him, and she keeps avoiding him because she doesn't want any apprentices. Should I tell boss all of that? Suddenly Windria opened the door and said, "Oh? The door's unlocked today," he said. "I suppose I can just ask her in person." After seeing Renil, Windria flinched. He said, "We're closed." Windria replied, "I see." He said, "You must wait for the shop to open again, ma'am." Windria replied, "Oh, of course." He slammed her hand on table while saying, "I heard you brought your personal affairs into the shop too. My employee felt threatened by this large man, you know. Shall I take care of him myself?" Windria rushed and said, "No need for that. Leave it to me, I'll take care of him." Ten mumbled, "Mistress Windria?" She shouted on Ten, "Get a grip and follow me, you fool." And they both left. After seeing that, Giselle said in her mind, "I didn't expect Windria to be so nervous in front of the boss. But it's clear she just saved Ten's life." Then he turned to Giselle and said, "What, are you sad that he's gone?" She replied, "What? Not at all." He asked, "Why were you staring at the door so wistfully then?" She replied wistfully, "I was just worried about them, that's all." Then she asked, "By the way, what brings you here at this late hour?" He scratched his head while saying, "I didn't actually plan on coming, but then I saw a man in here and you looking exhausted. I thought you might be tricked again and follow him somewhere, so I stopped by." She pouted while saying, "I'm not that dumb, I'll have you know. Why would I follow someone out this late at night?" He replied, Sure. I believe you." Then she shouted, "I told you! That guy took advantage of my kindness to help him." She yawned while saying, "Anyway, now that you've concluded I'm not in danger, you should go and rest. I should get to bed too." He smiled while saying, "Why should I leave when this is my shop?" She said, "Pardon? Shouldn't you go home?" He replied, "To send someone away at this hour, how heartless of you." She said inwardly, "You just sent 2 pesky customers away mercilessly, stupid boss." Then she said to him, "I'm a live-in employee, boss." He replied, "I know." She said, "That means the only room in this shop is already in use by me?" He replied, "Yes, I know." She said, then where will you be sleeping, boss? He replied, you just said there was a room. She said, do you expect me to sleep on the shop's floor then? He replied, why would you sleep on the shop's floor when you have a bedroom? She said, that's what I'm saying. There's just one room, and dash. Then she said inwardly, come to think of it, he said something weird about that pain in the neck 10 being my boyfriend. Then he chased 10 out, and now he wants to sleep in the same room with me? Then she shouted, I'm against dating in the workplace. He gets shocked and said, have you actually gone insane? Then she thinks, did I get it wrong? That's so embarrassing. She said, I mean, you're the one who kept sounding so suggestive, boss. He sighed while saying, I'm tired, so go and lock up. I'm going to sleep. She shouted, hold on, why are you turning toward my room? Are you actually going to sleep in there? You're such a terrible boss. He turned his face and said, I was about to give you some time off starting tomorrow, since you've been working so hard. She replied, do you really think a few days off work will? She smiled while saying, and a vacation allowance. I hope you sleep tight in my bed. I'll just take the floor out here. Then he flicks up his finger, and a bed appeared from thin air. He sit on the bed and said, you're being too noisy. Just go to your room. I'll sleep here. He smiled while saying, also, I'm against dating in the workplace as well. Then she said in her mind, boss. There he goes teasing me again. Next day she jumped with joy and said, it's vacation time. I'm free. She turned towards the door and said herself, today's my chance to get every kind of pastry from that bakery Sullivan told me about. I'm going to take it easy all day long. She opened the door and seeing Ranil sit here she get shocked and said in her mind, wait, why is he still here? She said, oh, hello boss. I see you're still here. You said your thoughts out loud. She smiled while saying, you could have just left my vacation allowance on the counter and gone about your business. He closed the book and said, oh, just give me my money and leave. She smiled and said, hey now, you know that's not at all what I meant. It was, but still. He stand up and said to her, ready yourself. We're going out for breakfast. She replied, we're going out? For breakfast? He said, yes. I told you, I'm giving you some time off starting today. That means you have time to hang out, right? She said inwardly, I was planning to spend the whole day being a couch potato. She said, do you even know what being on vacation means? He replied, of course. It means you do fun stuff. She said, you rest? He asked, isn't that the same thing? She replied, it's totally different. Besides, why would I hang out with you, boss? That would be overtime, not vacation. He said, you seem to be forgetting that you have a bounty on your head. She replied, but this is Van Hell. I don't need to worry about nights here, right? Everyone here is a criminal. He said, do you really think only regular people have grudges against Giselle? After hearing that she gets shocked. He stepped close to her and said, no one would dare to harm you in here, but don't go out on your own. She replied, Gilbert is always with me. He said, he's out doing something else right now. I was told he's informed you of this already. Then she get upset and said inwardly, he did? But that's why I was just going to pop into the nearby bakery and come back here to enjoy my free time. He took his hand to her neck and said, also, the bruise on your neck hasn't faded yet, has it? Let's go, take care of this. She replied, did you say we're going somewhere to take care of the bruise? Where? He smirked while saying, you'll have to wait and see. She said inwardly, come to think of it, the bruising is just as prominent as it was at first. The fact that Dylan used his mana to bruise it worries me, too. She recalled when Sullivan said to her, listen to Gilbert, and keep that on you for self-defense. Dylan is just as relentless as he looks, you know. Ha, fine. I can't believe I have to spend my vacation with my boss. This isn't relaxing at all. Then she said, all right. I'm ready to go, so we can leave now. He said, aren't those the clothes you work in? Are you going to wear that on your vacation? She smiled while saying, I don't have very many clothes, you see. He asked, What about all that money I gave you? She replied, well, people don't persist on bread alone, you know. I spent some money on stuff to snack on during work. He asked, did you use up all that money? She replied, prices are pretty steep in the hell. Maybe it's because this is the main street. She smiled while saying, let's go get some breakfast, shall we, boss? He shook his head and said, let's get you some clothes after we eat. After some time they go outside. She was happy as she smiled while saying, that was so good. She took her hand on stomach, smiled while saying, you're such a great boss. I will pledge my allegiance to you. Both butterflies also flutter with them. She pouted while saying, I didn't eat that much, you know. She said inwardly, I was just being appreciative, and all he does is doubt me. He said, I saw you order more while I stepped out for a moment. Do you have any idea how many plates were stacked up next to you? She smiled and said, I happen to have a big appetite today. She said in her mind that it was my chance to try all the expensive dishes since the boss is paying. He sighed while saying, fine. At least you had a good meal. Let's go buy you some clothes now. She replied, oh, right. We were going to buy clothes. She cried while saying, why didn't you stop me from eating so much? He said, I don't see a problem. We'll just buy whatever fits you right now. She said, you have no idea. It's definitely a problem. Then they go to boutique for buy clothes. The shop owner said, welcome to my boutique. The shop owner gets shocked to see her and said, oh my. She grabbed her hand and said, it's so nice to meet you, Miss Giselle Rozevin. I can't believe you're here. I've been dying to meet you. Giselle replied, really? Me? The shop owner said, well, you're the first evil person to have survived a stay at Soltia Tower. The shop owner leaned towards her and said, it's infamous for prisoners getting assassinated before they can get executed. So, how many assassins did you take care of, Miss Giselle? She said in her mind, I did no such thing. They all died by ingesting their own poison. The shop owner said to her, there's a rumor you even survived an encounter with Dylan. He pushed her away and said, we're busy. Stop being nosy and show us your collection. The shop owner said, this is a boutique for women. Why are you even here? She whispered with Ren, are they on bad terms? Why are they glaring at each other like that? Ren replied, she just doesn't want to get involved with our master because he's so strong. She asked, isn't it better to befriend someone who's strong? Van replied, sure, but our master is so strong. That crossing him will get you killed. She said inwardly, let's just pretend I didn't hear that. She stepped close to him and said, I swear my allegiance to you, boss. He replied, your stomach must really be upset. The shop owner come with her cloths collection smiled and said, thank you for waiting. I brought you a few different pieces, but I think these would all look great on Miss Giselle. Shop owner shows a black dress and said, take a look at this piece. If you wear this at night, you'll be very hard to notice. He replied, not bad. She said inwardly, why is blending in at night the selling point? Then the shop owner shows them a red dress and said, this one is flexible and durable, so it won't get ripped even if you get it caught somewhere while on the run. After seeing that he said, I've never seen this material before. Do you have anything for men in this? Shop owner said, this is a boutique for women, sir. She smiled after hearing that. The shop owner said, this one is my most popular piece. Blood washes right out of it, so you don't have to worry about stains. She smiled and said inwardly, I'd rather not get any blood on me at all. After shopping they went outside holding the clothes. She said, clothes for running away? She smiled and said, I barely step outside of the shop. Do you really think I'll ever need to run for it? He muttered, I hope you never have to. She said in her mind, if Renil is that worried, I guess Dylan really is as stubborn as they say. Suddenly her clothes bags vanished. He said, by the way, you don't need to carry that around. I can just send it back to the shop. She jumped with joy and said, oh wow, magic is so convenient. Thank you. Then she stopped and said, by the way, boss, should I learn some defensive magic or something? He replied, there's no such thing as defensive magic. Besides, not everyone has magic powers. She said, I know that magic powers are innate, but I thought there might be other ways to use it. Perhaps a potion that gives you magic powers even if you don't have any to begin with. He replied, trying to gain magic powers you never had is dangerous. Then she asked, I see. Then how do mages get more powerful? He explained that everyone who can use magic is born with a certain magic affinity. The same goes for their magic capacity, it is all decided at birth. Strong mages are strong from the start. Their magic just manifests at different times. She crying and said inwardly, I can't believe it! So magic is all about inborn talent. But what about divine powers? Then she asked, are light mages the same too? Light magic is based on holy powers, right? Dark mages use magic power, so is it different for light mages? He replied, do you know the difference between magic and divine power? She said, well, not really. He said, there is no difference. She said, pardon? What do you mean? He said, divine powers and magic powers are no different from each other. Then he smiled and said, well, this is probably boring for you, so let's change the subject. He stepped while saying, shall we get going? Then she thinks, there's no difference? What does that mean? I thought divine powers were something holy, like a blessing from the gods. If there is no fundamental difference between the two, how do you even differentiate between dark mages and light mages? Why did the main characters of the Poison Apple go around killing dark mages? He turned her face and said, what are you doing? Come on. She said inwardly, oh, is that the place Reincarnation mentioned where I can get my bruise taken care of? Then she rushed towards him. They reached that door. She asked, what was that? The door slightly opened. He get alarmed that something went wrong. She asked, what are you waiting for? He quickly shielded her with his robe. She asked, what are you doing? Suddenly the bomb exploded. She shouted, boss? The magic shield around them protects them. He asked, are you alright? She replied, yes, I'm fine. But what about you, boss? He said, I'm fine. He stepped close to the door and said, but what on earth was that? Someone came out from there and said, oh my goodness. He stepped out, sets his glasses and said, are you alright? The bomb I was working on accidentally went off. Then he get shocked to see and said, oh. It's you, Master Reincarnation. How is Master Wayne? What brings you here? Then he turned to her and said, wait. Goodness, it's you. The notorious Giselle Rozevin. Reincarnation was much furious on him. He said to her, it's such an honor to meet you. He introduced himself, my name is Mitchell. I was behind the explosion at the Imperial Palace 10 years ago. He smiled. She said inwardly, the explosion, where? Mitchell said, I saw your wanted poster. You have quite the bounty on your head. Not as much as me, but still. You must be so evil and have done some wicked things. She said in her mind, do villains think calling someone evil is a compliment? Mitchell said, it's such an honor. I'd love to shake your hand, but Reincarnation grabbed his hand. Mitchell smiled while saying, anyway, if you have anything to blow up, I'll give you a discount on magic bombs. She smiled and said, no thank you. She left. Mitchell's hand turned to her and said, everyone's so interested in Giselle Rozevin. You're practically a celebrity. She smiled and said, I'd rather not get any attention. He smirked and said, in any case. Then he turned to Mitchell and asked, where's Emily? Is she inside? Then they all go to inside. Mitchell rang at the door and said, Emily. But no one responds. He said, maybe she didn't hear it? Reincarnation said you may leave us here and go? Mitchell replied, oh, then I'll get going. While going back she turned to him. He bowed down. Reincarnation opened the door. She asked, are you allowed to just barge in like that? They entered the room. After seeing the dolls she said inwardly, uff. Is that one of Isabel's friends? She get afraid and said in her mind, is this place for summoning evil spirits? He said, come in. She gulped while saying, do I have to? He chuckled and pulled her while saying, you won't die. She was afraid and said in her mind, "No." Then they step inside. She looked in doll eyes and got frightened. She grabbed his arm and shout. We locked eyes. She was crying and said, "It must be angry because we barged in. I think we should leave right now. What if we get cursed?" He kicked away the doll. She said, "Are you insane? Why did you kick it? It'll bear a grudge against you." He smiled and said, "Stop spewing nonsense and get moving. We can't just stand around forever." She said, "But..." He leaned on her and asked, "Do I need to carry you?" She gets shocked and run away. He said, "Do you hate the idea of me carrying you more than being cursed?" She said furiously, "All that food I had this morning hasn't been digested yet." He said, "It wouldn't be that big of a difference." She said, "Yeah, let's just go inside already." They go inside. She saw an old lady. She said, "Could this person be?" He filled in, "Yup. That's Emily." Then he stepped close and crouched down while saying, "It's me." After seeing him, she patted her while saying, "Oh, it's you, my dear boy." He said, "When will you stop calling me that? I told you, I'm not a little boy anymore. My name is Renil." After seeing that, Giselle thinks, somehow, Boss looks so much more relaxed than usual. Then the Emily turned to her and said, "Did you come here to finally introduce me to my granddaughter-in-law?" After hear this, she get jolted. He said, "That's a joke, right, Emily?" Emily replied, "Yes, it was a joke." She sighed and said inwardly, "She was just joking. I wonder how they're so close. It doesn't seem like they're related." Emily said, "I know you wouldn't come here for that reason. You wouldn't bring a woman with something so vile on her neck and introduce her to me as your future wife." She gets shocked and said, "Pardon?" The old lady set her glasses straight at her and said, "That thing on your neck, young lady. What is that dangerous thing?" She said, "Pardon?" The old lady said, "Would you let me take a closer look at that vile thing on your neck?" She said inwardly, "So it really was something bad." She unwore her scarf and said, "Oh, yes. One moment." Then the old lady turned to him and asked, "By the way, how did you get to know my boy, young lady?" She smacked her hand on head and thinks, "Oh, right. I should have introduced myself first." She said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even introduce myself." She bowed down and introduced herself. "It's nice to meet you. I am Giselle Rozevin. I work as a temp at Boss Renil's shop." He said, "She's a regular employee, not a temp." After hearing that, she gets shocked. He said, "You were diligent, so I made you a regular employee a few days ago." He smiled while saying, "That's why I'm telling you now." She replied, "You wouldn't have told me if I hadn't mentioned that I was a temp, right?" He said, "It might have slipped my mind." She said seriously, "Come on, boss." The old lady smiled and said, "You brought along an amusing young lady?" He replied, "Well, there's never a boring moment with her around." She said inwardly, "Don't tell me he hired me for entertainment, not as a shopkeeper." He said, "Anyway, she works at my shop," she whispered, "as a regular, not just as a temp." He said, "As a regular?" After hearing that, she claps her hand with joy. Then he said to her grandmother, "As you can see, something annoying got on her neck. I wanted to ask if you have a scarf to cover it up." The old lady looked at the scar and said, "Let's see here." She patted her while saying, "Oh my, that must have hurt." "I see. Yes, it's definitely something bad. It won't be easy to cover up." Giselle sighed and said, "Oh no." The old lady browsed through the clothes and said, "Don't be so dejected yet." Then she found out and said, "Oh yes. Let's try out this fabric." Then the old lady dips the piece of cloth into the magic water. After seeing that, she thinks, "Is this magic?" The old lady said, "A week, that should be enough time." He gets shocked and said, "A week? I didn't expect it to take that long to make." His grandmother took the cloth and replied, "It'll take at least 3 layers of magic to try and cover up that mark. It's not as though I've ever made anything with that many layers." Then he said, "All right. I'll be back in a week. Let's go home for now, Giselle." She replied, "Oh yes, sir." His grandmother said, "Wait. Since you're here, would you thread this needle for me?" He replied, "Oh, I'm kind of busy right now." His grandmother sadly said, "My vision is getting blurry, you know. Don't you feel bad for me, young lady?" After hearing that, she get flustered and said, "Well, it's such a small favor." "That's so cold of you, boss." He said, "No, but she said to her, I'll do it for you. I just have to thread this needle, right?" He whispered to her ear, "No, don't do it." His grandmother rummaged through the box and said, "Thank you, kind young lady." She opened the box of needle and thread and said, "I'll leave it to you then." After seeing the box, she smiled and said, "Wow, you have so many needles." He brushed his hair with finger while saying, "That's why I told you not to." Back to shop, he said, "Do you get it now? Emily is an expert on cursed dolls. That doll you called Isabel was also one of her creations." After hearing that, she trembled with shudder. He explained, "That old crone is great at threading needles. She just acts all helpless because she enjoys watching people struggle." She recalled, "I get it now. I won't trust anyone in this town ever again." Then she looked herself in mirror and said, "By the way, does this mark really allow Dylan to track me down?" He replied, "It might be hard to believe, but yes." She just sighed. He said while reading the book, "So don't go anywhere alone from now on. Always take someone with you, like Gilbert or me." She asked, "From now on? Forever? And ever?" She stepped close to him and slammed her hand on table and said, "Boss, be honest with me." He replied, "About what?" She said, "You got fired, didn't you?" He closed the book and replied, "Who got fired?" She said, "You, boss. Did the big boss tell you to get lost if you're just going to goof off all day?" He asked, "How would you know whether or not I goof off all day?" She replied, "Because you're doing it right now and keeping an employee from enjoying her time off." He said, "How am I keeping you from?" Then he thinks so. He took the box of snacks and passed it to her and said, "Here, go in your room and enjoy these." She took the box and replied, "This isn't why I'm hanging around out here. It's just that as an employee, I can't just go and relax in my room since my boss is here." He stared at her. She smiled while going and said inwardly, "I'll be snacking in my room." She turned her face and said, "Wait. Don't get the wrong idea, okay? I wasn't just hanging around to get my snacks." He replied, "Yeah, sure." After a while passed, he thinks she hasn't come out of her room for a while. Is she still munching on those snacks? Then he thinks, should I be stopping her? He stepped close to her room while knocking. He thinks, wait, it's open. He knocked the door and said, "Giselle? I'm coming in." Suddenly a voice came, "Please, help me." He immediately opened the door and stepped in while saying, "Giselle? What happened? She said while in sleep, "Boss is stealing all my snacks." After seeing her, he thinks, wait, was she just sleep talking? He sighed while saying, "Unbelievable." He sit down close to her on the bed while she was asleep. He thinks, I wonder if this is how those mages who were raising chicks felt. He recalled when she said, "Why do they keep peeping? What's wrong? I got you a bigger coop and all. Didn't you get them for hexes?" He said to himself, "A bigger chicken coop." He thinks, I suppose it is cramped in here. It's also right next to a busy street. Well, this isn't the best environment. Also, there aren't any servants here either. Giselle does seem used to doing housework on her own though. Then he muttered, "You're so self-reliant and adaptable. Almost exceedingly so." Then he brushed her hair with finger. Suddenly he noticed he slammed his hand on bed and said to himself, "That's, her roots have turned black. It wasn't just a trick of the light. Could this be a side effect of the forbidden ritual?" He seen closely and said to himself, "Has anything else about her changed? I had never met the former Giselle Rozevin, so I can't tell whether or not she always looked like this." Then he touched her neck. After seeing that, he thinks, that bastard. How dare he leave a mark on her like this? If I could, I would get rid of it immediately. Suddenly she opened the eyes and get jolted. She said, "Boss? What is it?" She glanced while saying, "Why are you touching my neck? You're just joking around, right?" He smirked. Then he coughed and thinks, so she has the ability to survive any poison. What's the point? She bruises so easily from just a little strangling. So fragile that she could break at the slightest touch. Then he said, "Giselle?" She replied, "Yes?" He asked, "Your name is Giselle?" she replied. Right? That's my name, yes. He said. I'm the one who gave you that name. She said. Pardon? What is that supposed to? He explained. I'm giving you the name Giselle, so that you never have to mimic Giselle Rozevin ever again, even as a joke. He smiled while saying, and to celebrate your new name, I'll build you the biggest and most luxurious chicken coop in the world. She rose from bed while saying, Boss? He replied. She gulped while saying, Is this chicken coop safe? He replied. Of course. She asked, From you too? He remained silent. She shouted, I might seem dumb, but I'm no bird brain. And I'm definitely not a pet. Also, you didn't purchase me as a pet chicken. You hired me as a shop employee. Hiring contracts are made between two independent and equal individuals. After hearing that, he smiled loudly. A big and luxurious chicken coop? If you're going to spend money on that, I'd like a raise instead. He smiled and replied, My Giselle is not only funny, but charming too. He thinks, it looks like I've got a lot to prepare for her coop once I return to the manor. After the chicken coop commotion, she sit on chair eating snacks and thinks, I finally get some proper time off. She wrote on diary that researching poisons has been weirdly fun. Mixing a strawberry-flavored poison with a banana-flavored one makes a strawberry-banana-flavored poison. I can even tell apart flavors like a fresh watermelon from one that's overripe. She thinks in her mind, it's such a unique ability. How did I even end up with it? She recalled, it's ironic that Giselle Rozevin is killed by poison in the novel. That means the actual Giselle didn't have this ability. Suddenly someone came and said, Excuse me, she said inwardly. Wait, a customer? When did he come in? She said. I'm sorry, but we're closed today, she said inwardly. Hold on, didn't I lock the shop entrance earlier? He asked. Oh, are you? That's not good. There's something I need right away. Please, she replied. What do you need? He said. A decaying wooden box, you say? She find it from cupboard. I'm sure it was around here somewhere. The customer said. Are you having trouble finding it? She replied. Well, we keep it toward the back because it's dead stock. She find it and said, Oh, there it is. The customer behind her pulled out a glass box from its pocket.